Huh. Thanks for all the haters, all the bros that went out the back door, cause they wanted to mix it up like pancake batter, and all the suckers blocking. Thank y'all all. Let me lay this down like a real do. Allow me.
Right, indeed. So, back again on Mantis Views29. I'm here with the brother Blue Pill and the sister Ashley, which you're highly appreciated to be a part of this conversation because Blue and we wanted to have this conversation, and then, you know, I had to ask, I'm like, well, don't you think this would be way better with the female energy? And unanimously, Blue was like, yes, please make it happen. So, we are here, and the subject for today I would like to talk to y'all about is relationships, okay? Dating, and that fine line of borders and boundaries within that. Now, I'm asking you, and this is, I know we can't say this is for every woman, but the objective is to give the youth men a certain standard as well on how to deal with the sisters, because I find that one of the problems, because we all here and we all have a nationality. But that starts with the man and the woman. This is the source of all of that. Birthrights, the sisters, the women give birth. Okay, so the root of all of this starting out successful is between the male and the female, which is why I find this an important relationship. I mean, the important subject.
Conversation, right?
Yeah, conversation, because, you know, there needs to be an exhibition of the fact that, quote unquote, every woman is a woman, but all women are not the same. Example, you have the sisters who might not even give you a hug because they don't want you to touch them if you're not their man. Then you got other sisters who are on they,
You might mess their foundation up.
might mess their foundation up. Right.
They're like,
Yeah, exactly.
so, you know, now, what do you call that? You know, embracing and, you know what I'm saying, outward embracing and stuff of that nature,
Yeah.
you know, it becomes a hindrance. It's second to the peacock appearance that
Right.
so many people are focused on, first
Yes.
and foremost.
Absolute.
And, you know, we want to investigate, is that an outgrowth from what social media has done to affect relationships? You know, the fact that you got to be perfect and picture ready at all times. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that social media is not old enough for us to have substantiated research on the effects of social media on actual relations. You know what I'm saying? And especially with our quote unquote people, because we use social media differently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And these are things that we need to talk about because it obviously has an effect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to add on with that imagery. I know there's thousands of people on the social media. Only one I have access to, or only one I utilize, is YouTube at this point. You know what I mean? So some of the things they come across, but I be missing a lot of that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is there's certain things like Blue was saying with the social media, the imagery and things like that. Whereas, like I said, you got certain sisters who's like, don't give me a hug. I'm not touching you if you're not my man or whatever. And then you got others who are more aggressive about their sexuality, how they like to be approached and things like that. Meaning some sisters are on a Beyonce partition. They like handprints and good grips all on those sacred parts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, and then at the same time, they could flip it like, you know, so many people want to touch up, rub up, and fill up, and all of these things. So sisters have different states of mind. Everybody's not ratchet. My thing is this, though. As far as relationships are concerned, they say it's best that you follow your heart, right? I want to ask you both, What do you think about that? Because as more as we told the same thing, you know, follow the dictates of your soul, and the end result will always be right, right? But sometimes that may or may not be true. I don't know if you had different experiences, because your heart could be saying one thing, but your brain telling you another, and you neglect the wisdom somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Have you, or do you think in a relationship when somebody is being courted, or you know is trying to be involved, that it's more wise to follow your heart or your brain?
I would first say the most important thing is when I talk to people, other women, even men, you need to know yourself first. Because if you're following something, how do you know if it's the right thing if you don't know who you are?
Right.
You know, and that's the most important thing. Because a lot of times, like you said, we decide to follow our heart, but is that really what we need? Is that really what's best for us? And a lot of us don't take the time to figure that out. I know me personally, you know, I was in like a 10-year relationship from the time I was 16.
Wow.
You know, I was married at 22, and I felt like that's what my heart wanted me to do. And once I started to gain more knowledge of myself, it's like, wait a minute, I have a lot that I need to do for me. And who is Ashley? You know, once that relationship ended, I had no clue who I was, and I didn't know what my heart wanted me to do, or my mind, because it had been almost hijacked, you know, by a man, being that I wanted to be what he wanted me to be, and I was happy with him. I didn't see a reason not to be with him.
Right.
So I went with my heart, so to speak, at the time. But when you get older, you know, and you finally actually realize there's more to life than just being somebody's wife or somebody's girlfriend, then your heart tells you something different. So I would say the most important thing for all women, young women, especially though I work with young women, and that's what I tell them when they come to me with advice. Even older women my age, I tell them, what do you need to do for you? Figure that out first.
Right.
And then what you need will come to you. You know, it's not about following anything. It's about being in your proper place,
Right.
being in alignment, and those things will come to you naturally.
Absolutely. So would you say that has to do with the law of attraction? You think the heart has magnetism?
Of course, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
Yes. Scientists have found that the heart's magnetism is about 500 times stronger than an actual quote unquote with the mind is capable of.
Right.
You know, the heart, what we feel, is pretty much imprinting our outward universe with our signature. So what we need or want, quote unquote, is being determined more so by our heart that outweighs and outbeats the brain or the mind. In ancient Kemet, the heart is weighed,
Yeah.
not the brain.
You would enter into the Hall of Mat to have your heart weighed in the weighing of the heart ceremony. In the papyrus of Ani, you see him and his wife Tutu walking towards the scales. Ani's heart, or his ib, is placed on the scales opposite Mat's feather of truth. The ancient Egyptians believed the heart to be the seat of human emotions, intellect, will, and morality, and one couldn't have an afterlife without it. So it was very important to pass this test and have the heart returned. In this scene, you see the god Anubis checking the scales, while the god Thoth records the process and outcome. Ani's Ba is the human-headed bird watching the weighing. Underneath are two birth goddesses and a male figure representing Ani's destiny. On the top of the scene, you see 12 gods and goddesses supervising that the process is fair and correct. In front of them is a table with offerings of food and incense. To the far right of the scene, behind Thoth, you see the demon Amit, who waits for the verdict. She is part crocodile, part lion, and part hippopotamus. In the weighing, if the heart was found to be heavier than the feather, it would be devoured by Amit, and the deceased would be doomed to eternal oblivion.
Exactly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's still an active argument about where the seat of the soul is.
Right.
Is it in the heart? Or is it the pineal? Is it in the
Yeah.
brain? Or,
Right.
you know, is the mystery about the connection between the two,
Yes.
the balance?
Right.
You know, I think that she says something very key. I could relate on a few levels. I went through a very tumultuous relationship where I had to make life decisions on the spot,
Right.
and I felt thrown into a place that I've never been, and it was very uncomfortable. And I lost the guidance of my heart and my mind, my brain, quote unquote, because normally it's the big homie. You speaking to your higher self. You asking questions, and it's telling you to do this. And then when you do something that goes against what you're told, and then the shit steps back, and then you like, yo, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't really feel because you numb, and you're not hearing because that voice is like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Now you're on your own. You see what it feels like.
Right.
So I've been in a situation like that to know that maybe both are an illusion, following your heart or your mind. It comes down to something that's other than that.
Gotcha.
And like she said, that is knowing self. And that's a trick bag. You know what I'm saying? That's a trick bag.
Yeah, because it's like, go ahead.
The self is not singular as well.
Right. Duality.
Not even that.
Okay.
Complex.
It's
Layers.
You have an emotional self, you got a mental self, you have your physical self, you have your spiritual self. So there's all these different layers. So what self you talking about?
Right.
Because that voice that I be hearing, that's another self. That's not the soul self, quote unquote.
Right.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So I had to, I had to get into a place where I had to make a decision based on me, not the outside interference.
Right.
And the outside interference still involved me in these other places, not even the quote-unquote outside world. So, when you get put in a predicament like that, and you be like, yo, this is real. You know what I'm saying? Like, life is real and decisions are real. And I see the results of a lot of bad decisions in this world, based on how people get into relationships and how they procreate. And then I can never, look at a child and say, but that's the result of a bad decision.
Right.
You feel me? We are trained to always look at it as blessings, but I'm seeing people that are not prepared to parent, you know what I'm saying? And as a result, broken people are having broken children.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the world is categorically just a little bit more broken as a result of this lack of compatibility. People not waiting long enough.
Right.
And everybody's diving head in, and the results are somewhat catastrophic. There are a few success stories out there, and adversity does breed, a different type of individual. There are a few success stories out there, and adversity does breed, a different type of individual. And in these days and times, like, you probably kind of need one of those kind of individuals to come about. But I don't like the circumstances that people are volunteering themselves to go about bringing those things into fruition. There's a lot of pain involved.
And I think that comes from, not to cut you off, but also, like you said, people are having children, and then they're going to have children. So we essentially have come from someone who maybe was in a similar situation, and they didn't have that guidance, and they didn't have that understanding of self to even teach it to us, especially the women. If our mother didn't have that, how could we have that? And then we go out trying to replicate relationships that we have seen, especially on social media or now reality TV. We want to replicate these, goals. You always see these memes with relationships that are mostly dysfunctional, and it's like goals, but then it's like that's not even healthy. But a lot of times we are programmed with these from birth. But we have Barbies, and we're playing with the Barbies, and they're fighting and beating each other up because that's what we see in our household or in the environment. And so when we come across a man now who has also come from that same environment, it's hard to figure out how you're going to get something compatible out of that. When most people are dealing with, with that type of programming.
The compatibility is the trauma. That's the compatibility.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? The compatibility is, you know what I mean? You screaming at her, she screaming at you.
It works.
Somebody throws a punch and then
That's not.
and y'all cut.
It feels
Right.
safe. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
But it's true.
Yeah.
It's like it feels safe because
Yeah.
that's what they know. It feels right.
That's the standard. If that shit ain't there, the excitement
Yeah,
is
it's
not
like I
there.
can't be with somebody who can't
Right.
put me in place.
Yeah.
Who can't
Right.
check me, who doesn't rough me up a little
Yeah, they
bit.
like, choke me out, daddy.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And guys too, because I know guys who will deal with a girl who's following them around, coming to their job, and it's like
Yeah.
they're okay with it. They break up for a day and they're right back together. But it's like, really? Like, is that where we're going with this now?
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Could you?
Oh yeah. Hold up.
I'm
fault.
sorry.
No, you good.
I had a customer come in. Like, what happened?
Well, yeah.
Let's talk about this shit.
Talk
you
about
know.
it. Talk about
Usually
that.
what happens.
Talk
I want to
about
hear about
it.
some
But
of the shit they be telling
even
me.
when they don't, guys still disappear.
True.
And that
I
adds
pulled a
more
disciplinary
trauma.
They don't like their mom. They hate their mom and their dad. I love my dad. My dad was a whole disappearing act. I love that. Get down.
I pulled a disappearing act recently. I'll talk about it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Going? Oh,
What's your
God.
experience like?
Oh, I know yourself.
Nah.
Comment section to be lit up.
Right. No, but that is something that we see happen for a multitude of reasons, whether the compatibility doesn't work out or they can't find their niche or they can't find, what can help them grow together. And I think that also sometimes comes from looking at other model standards. I think we could look at different nations to take examples that we need. I don't knock anybody who's doing or whatever they're doing, whoever they're choosing to be with. But like on a whole nother relationship level, you got Europeans who are like, don't amalgamate with anybody else that don't have pale skin. You know what I mean? So sometimes it like dealing with somebody who doesn't, like you mentioned, come from the same situation or circumstance, it could be a culture shock. Do you think?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So that being the case, you got to be able to find your compatibility. Now, what happens though? What I've noticed happens is sometimes people hit that first rough spot in the road, and they don't never fix the wheel. They just
Yeah,
like,
they just
yo,
throw the- they just
you're
throw it
not
to the
perfect. I
junkyard.
thought you was perfect.
Let me ask you
You
this,
know what I
right?
mean?
Junk the whole car.
Because I noticed yesterday on Instagram, right, there was a lot of loneliness on my timeline. You know what I'm saying? And I know,
yesterday was
I
cool
know-
Valentine's Day.
I know how that
Yeah.
shit looks at this point in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a social media expert, so I know what to look for. I know what's coming on the 13th, and I know how to identify it on the 14th. So, and then I seen a lot of people put up posts where they were critical of melanated women that's swirling, right?
Yeah, I saw a
And
lot
you got
of
white
that
boys,
yesterday.
right?
Yeah.
They was targeting a lot of that. So I'm like, as brother's keeper, right? And you're keeping for
Exactly.
your sister, for the
keeper.
queen or what have you, you know. Would you be more concerned with her being happy, even if she was happy with a European? Or the fact that she's lonely with no melanated king, but she's miserable and emoting online?
Wow. Well, I would have to applaud the happiness. Like if it's real for you, whatever that may be.
What are we showing up for at the end of the day?
Exactly.
Are we
Right.
concerned with her happiness?
Yes. Yes.
Or we want to police,
It's not my business.
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We want to
Right.
police her privates
It's not
Yeah.
my business.
and determine, oh, nah, dudes ain't stepping up and handling their responsibilities, so you must be miserable. You feel me? Versus the fact that every time you see her over here, she's smiling.
Right.
Now,
Right.
I'm not going to bat and advocating for that. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I found it very interesting, and I wanted to, pose the question. I didn't get around to it. You know what I'm saying? At some point I may, but I'm asking you today here on camera, is her happiness more important than your perception about how she goes about to achieve her happiness?
Why would you want to do that?
Because
Don't you
I
love
don't
yourself?
think I'm any different from you. You see.
Yeah, we much different.
I
Let's
mean, I
face
think
it,
society's
man.
made us different.
You know we're different. We all together.
But society's made us different.
No, not society. God made us different.
No, we're just human beings. He made all of us.
We all listen. Bluebirds fly with bluebirds. Red birds want to be with red birds. Listen. Tell me when I'm wrong. Pigeons want to be with pigeons.
But
Tell
we
me
have
when
intelligence.
I'm wrong.
We have an
we
intellect.
must.
They
Well, we
don't
should have.
have.
Right, they don't have intelligence, but yet
No.
they stay together. We should have more intelligence than them, right? Buzzards are with buzzards. Yeah. Buzzards are with buzzards. Bluebirds are with bluebirds. They all are birds, but they got different cultures. The eagles like to hang out in the mountains. The buzzard like to fly around the desert.
Well,
the bluebird like to fly around the trees and the
There'd be certain
grass.
problems a buzzard mating with a sparrow, wouldn't there?
What?
There'd be certain.
Right. And that's, we have the problems too.
And also, do lesbians celebrate Valentine's
I
Day?
think so.
Is that a big thing in there?
I
don't
think
know.
so. To me, I don't like to get involved in other people's business.
Right.
If she's happy with a European, let her do her thing. You know, that's not me. I have my own stuff to worry about. I say, if you're not being her and you're happy and you're safe where you're at, you know, live your life, do your thing.
And you can't take no Chinese man and give him no Puerto Rican woman and holler about we're in love and you emotionally in love and physically, but really they're not happy because she's gonna hear some Puerto Rican music, he's gonna hear some Chinese music, and they're gonna be clashing all the time. It's just nature. You can do what you want, but it's nature to want to be with your own. I want to be with my own. I love my people. That's all. I don't hate no.
And back, you know, because it does come, a lot of it does come from society and programs. Even the relationships that we get into come from a lot of society and relationships. You know, I had no business getting married at 22. You know what I'm saying? But that's something that in my environment was, I'm 18 and they're asking me, when y'all getting married? When you having kids?
Right,
you know, this
right,
and
right.
that. So I felt like, you know what? Let me do it. This is what the culture is here. And I was in the South, you know. So I'm like, this is the culture. You go to school, you go to college, you get married, you have a baby. And learning myself, I'm like, I may not really want that. So she may decide she's happy with the European.
But then again, like you
I
said,
mean,
we having culture clashes because they're telling me to honor my mother and my father.
absolutely.
And my grandfather told me, he said, look, 13 ain't good. I'm like, what you mean, bro? He's like, look, I'm from the old school. And how we did it in the old school, by the time she was 14, she was pregnant.
Yeah.
And she wasn't getting pregnant without us marrying her. So by the time she was 21, she had 5 seeds. And by the time she was 30, she capped it off, but she already got 7 or 8. So I'm like, that's how the old timers, he's like, for you Negroes are so concerned with history, and y'all want to dig into the bushes so much to get into what we dealt with. He's like, this is how we got down.
Yes.
So what's wrong with you?
And if they're following that, they should also be wifing up all the baby moms and making them all wives and having multiple wives and doing it the polygamous route. If that's the case, if you want to take it back to the homeland, to the motherland and all that, you know, and the culture.
True, my grandfather
know?
from the Caribbean, so he was just speaking on Caribbean culture. And then I got other parts of my family that's from the South. So they're speaking on Southern culture.
Yep.
Then we got other families from the continent.
Yep.
And they're speaking on continental culture.
Exactly.
And what's similar in all of these cultures is that the woman was pregnant and married up at a very young age. And in some of those cultures, the shit was predetermined for her.
Yes.
When she was gonna get married, when she was gonna get pregnant, and to who.
To who, yeah.
You feel me?
You had to be from a certain cloth.
Exactly.
While we go through this renaissance
Absolutely.
of embracing the cultural aesthetics of our past, we also have to be mindful of all of those things that existed at that point that pretty much, like you said, dealing with societal standards of today, we couldn't pretty much, you know what I mean, bring
Yeah.
that to a woman
No, you're right.
that is post Beyonce,
No,
right? She's in
not
a
having
beehive. She gonna be
She's
like,
not having that polygamy.
I'm not going for this polygamy.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to
Multiple
be
babies,
barefoot
she's
and
trying to
pregnant
work.
at the age
Yeah.
of
She's
15.
not with it.
Right.
Like I'm trying to go to the club.
Yeah.
I want to see Migos when it comes through. You know what I'm saying? saying? I want to give Offset
Bad
some
and
before,
bougie.
yeah.
I'm trying to be bad and
Like,
bougie.
you know what I mean? I want to try to start thing out before I get married.
No, you're right.
I've been in
Right.
look.
You're right.
I've been in enough relationships.
Yes.
Let's keep it real. I done been told some crazy shit, and this comes out of the minds of these women that were, you know, sitting in front of TV,
Yep.
reading Cosmopolitan
Watching
magazine,
Oprah.
looking up to their cousins,
Yes.
you know, who were dealing with the hustlers that was
Yep.
coming through town. You know what I mean? They had ambitions. We got ambitions of a rider. They had different type of ambitions. They had ambitions of the shorty of a rider. You know what I'm saying?
Ride or die chick.
Yeah, like Bonnie. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? They wanted to be all that. So
Absolutely.
based on the different levels of acculturation,
Yeah.
generationally wise, based on the generations, what hip hop you was raised off of and what era.
Yep. Yep.
That's kind of like how I'm able to identify where these mentalities come from.
Right.
And then there's other external factors that we're not going to get into because it might sound conspiratorial. Dealing with the diet and dealing
I say
with
get into it.
Talk
and,
that
and
talk.
and dealing with the signals. Okay,
Get
so
into it. Needs to be told.
let's say the Nicki Minaj generation. This is a generation that is now successfully, right, almost 100% raised off of plastic intake.
Yes.
So
It's not
from the
even
age
real.
of 0 to
Yeah.
7, Similac, Gerber,
McDonald's.
you know what I mean?
All of that. Yeah.
All of that. Whereas the generation before hers, which I would probably say was my generation, we still probably had breastfeeding. You know what I'm saying? Some of them children still was going to the South, and the staple food wasn't Frosted Flakes.
No,
Right.
not at all.
You know, you still have probably access. Real food was around, so
Yes. Corn on the.
real
fields.
vibratory frequency
Yeah.
was around. Saturday mornings, real music was being played in the house.
Speak to her beauty. Her magnificence created this moment. In his own state, I meditate, I sip herbal tea, steam escapes and evaporates, immaculate. It's her make, she creates, he ejaculates, they create. All living things, this the only race I proclaim. She is life giver. No doubt to the womb first she delivers. Feminine principles, see the bigger picture. Enveloped in her darkness, I spark this push to release my exhaustion. Something like Mama Earth feels with the garbage. I'm pausing time with the elements. Her fire burns every day for the sacrament. The breath of life fuels all, and she's hella bent. Her waters flow, grow, no one can drown you. The sudden death, watch your steps as you try to roll rough. Don't vex when I speak, I'm the diamond in the rough.
You might have been able to actually catch some live concerts in your lifetime. You probably seen, what's the brother's name? Beverly,
Frankie Beverly.
Frankie Beverly and all of them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Classic.
Yeah.
You probably still got that. You probably even seen Stevie in your lifetime once or twice. You know, you grew up off of the vibratory frequencies, and frequency is everything because that shit is changing the whole fiber
Your
of your
whole
DNA,
makeup,
your
yeah.
makeup, your response, what you respond to, how you respond to it. Grew up off of the vibratory frequencies, and frequency is everything because that shit is changing the whole fiber
Your
of your
whole
DNA,
makeup,
your
yeah.
makeup, your response, what you respond to, how you respond to it. But somebody who's an Ottoman, who's just been raised off of plastic from the so from the years of 0
It's
to
true,
7,
It's true.
what you are, what you eat is what you are, and that's programming you because your entire cellular makeup can be retrofitted and re-terraformed based on your consumption.
Plus
So,
the music vibrating
right,
now.
plus the music vibration,
And
plus the
triggering
fact
the
that
plastic.
Right.
It's already in the body.
yeah, your mom's was taking you to the Cleasy, right? Because she wanted to back that thing up. She was taking you to the club when you was in the bun. She was in the whip.
Yeah.
All of that shit was being, not the edited version either. Everything was being blasted, bass pumping, and you came up. You know what I'm saying? Snoop Dogg was on
Yeah.
TV. Then it was
Yeah.
Lil Wayne and all of them, and nobody ever put no cut or none of that on it. You know what I'm saying? None of that. There was no cut. You know, 5-star bad bitch, all that. All of that was what you consumed through your ears. What you consume, you also consume through your eyes. So
Yep.
what you're looking on TV is consumption.
Right.
What you're hearing is consumption. What you're reading is consumption. What you're listening to is consumption. What you're eating is consumption. All of these things are going into the signals of who and what you will become. So when I said an automind, so when the ELF signals come, extremely low frequency, if they want to even auto-suggest to you that you should do something, they're not hitting the soul first. They're hitting the endoplasmic aspect of what these nanos are now building up inside of you. You got a whole nother you right inside of you based on the fact that you've been eating these plastic and these polymers for so long that when Nicki Minaj say, "Where my Barbie's at," the response is so immediate. All of these things are going into the signals of who and what you will become. So when I said an automind, so when the ELF signals come, extremely low frequency, if they want to even auto-suggest to you that you should do something, they're not hitting the soul first. They're hitting the endoplasmic aspect of what these nanos are now building up inside of you. You got a whole nother you right inside of you based on the fact that you've been eating these plastic and these polymers for so long that when Nicki Minaj say, "Where my Barbie's at," the response is so immediate because she's talking to people that can identify with plasticity. They can identify with plastic.
Unnatural.
So when women make a flow towards saying, "I'm not only eating plastic, I'm not only getting plastic put in my body, but I'm actually even putting plastic up in me."
I was about to say. Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
It's not so far-fetched for me if I look at it scientifically to say how and why did this connect in the way that it did so quick overnight.
Right.
Because we taking the temperature of these shorties. You know, this is who we're with. This is who we're growing up around. And the shit changed.
Yeah, it did.
It changed. And it changed rapidly.
I would say,
You know what I'm saying?
97, 98, 99.
Yeah,
I
like
think I was in
I can't even
middle
say,
school.
yeah, like when
And
Little
that's
Kim was
when-
telling you to take it in your buns.
Yeah.
That still
Kim
involved, hold on, that still
Yeah.
involved the man. Like, they still
Yeah.
was into men. She was saying
Yeah.
take it in your buns. Yeah. That shit was still a sexual act that had to
Yeah.
include a
It
man.
was still natural.
It was still
Yeah.
natural. Even
Yeah.
if it was the buns, it was still
A
natural.
man and a woman.
Still a
Yes.
man and a woman. She
Absolutely.
wasn't advocating anything outside of that particular arrangement. If she was bringing a shorty in the room, it was for you to menage. It wasn't like, oh, we're cutting you out of the equation.
No.
Right.
And we're strapping on it and, you know what I'm saying, running down on you afterwards. Like,
No.
that's not where it was at.
Not at all.
Something happened in between
Yeah.
that time and what the fuck ever else happened where this shit happened. And now we're living in the happening.
Yo.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't know out there in TV land if you've just been on YouTube for the last 10 to 15 years. But there's some shit going on out here. Okay? And the phallus has been excluded out of the equation in place for a plastic and a mechanized phallus.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Or a tongue that works unlike anything else under God's green heaven that He has ordained. Like,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, women have found the power to fucking tongue out,
Right.
and they're like, nigga, I don't need you no more. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
something happened.
It happened, yo.
Something happened. You know, some social engineers got busy and implemented something. You know, I mean, they got lead in the water in Flint, goddammit, but there's something else in the water around America. They got shit tweaking.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
just me as a I don't say my age, I'm 31. So,
Right.
you know, my mother, my dad was around,
You're
but
31.
I am. I just turned 31 last month. My dad was around, but you know, he had his own things that he was going through. So my mom worked forever. I've known my mom has had a job.
Right.
So to me, I was raised that you cannot not depend on a man. You got to make sure that no matter what, you can take care of yourself.
Right, because it could bottom out.
Exactly. You never know. She never came to me in a way of kick the man out, your life you don't need a man in that way, but always make sure that no matter what, you can take care of yourself, whether you have a man or not.
This is never given.
But it had escalated now to a whole nother level where we taking the independent woman to independent, I don't need a man at all.
Right.
Even around me, don't talk to me, don't look at me, don't speak to me. And that is so far from where we're supposed to be. And that is what also contributes to so much of the decrease in just the family unit, not having that, because the women don't even want men around at all.
And that's
at all.
Crazy.
And, you know, I know even personally, I've been in situations where I've been dating, and when I expressed that to a man, I know I had one experience of a man wanting me to move in with him. And I'm like, look, I just moved here. I want to make sure that I can take care of myself before I just jump into your apartment and you taking care of me. And I think he took that the wrong way of me wanting to be the man in a relationship and not understanding that that was how I was raised. And that for me, I think it's better if you have a woman who can take care of herself and you don't have to do all the work. We can take care of each other.
Word.
So that's also something else. As men, they have to let down their ego and not take that so personal.
Right.
You know, as far as the quote unquote independent woman. But even now, the young women that I work with and then I see, they don't want men at all. A lot of them are bisexual. A lot of them rather deal with women than men. And I think a lot of that comes from trauma. A lot of them have been sexually assaulted, so they don't trust men.
Yeah.
You know, and so then when you do have a man, even if he is on the up and up, they're not going to let him in.
Right.
Because of what happened to them in the past. So I know I was speaking before when you were off camera, I was just saying that, you know, we have to have more compassion for each other because we're all traumatized. Men are traumatized by women. I know plenty of men who have been done so dirty by women, all types of craziness. And the same with women have been done dirty by men. So we have to be able to look at each other.
It's just a lot of dirt on both sides.
Exactly. And like you saying, it's getting even worse and worse now with all the different programming that's out there, what they can find online, what they see on TV. There's no limit now. There's no kind of filter. There's no nothing.
I've never participated in any online dating.
Yeah.
Meaning that I haven't participated in those apps or things like that. Like I've met women online, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not part of any online dating sites.
Right.
But same way I was never part of party lines. Before online dating, it was party lines.
Yeah.
I done heard a lot of stories though.
Yeah.
Because I be around a lot of people, just part of those worlds. You know what I'm saying? These were the jump off lines when they was the party lines. Like dudes would get the call and next thing you know they go on to smash. So now it's almost like the same thing with the online shit where, you know, the act of sex is so devalued because you can get a ping on your phone and you know what I'm saying?
Right
some hot boxes waiting for you.
Before where you had to put in the effort and actually
There's
go out.
no effort
meet
involved.
someone in the mall, get their phone number, call their house phone because we didn't have cell phones, we had pay phones.
Signal of distress, something don't seem right. I'm trying to find a phone booth, but none in sight. Trying to get the whole truth, but it's a fight. Drew Ali told you, but still despite, renew the old you. You'll be alright. You'll be alright. You'll be alright.
Check it. Knew from the first that I met her. Thirsty in the worst way, wanted to get her. Open like a ladder, I'm open, not to stress her. No pressure, but I wanna lay her out like a stretcher. Knew she couldn't handle 16, so I hit her with 8 first to give her a taste first. Cat and mouse game, yeah, she gave up the chase first.
I can't call past this particular time. Like, dudes had to be strategic. Like,
I'm trying to find a phone booth, but none in sight.
I can't risk this.
Effort. Now
you know
it's
what I'm saying?
like straight.
You gotta hang up. And then you had to have the call blocking. They'll call the moms and call back like, look,
on the line.
yeah, mom on the other line like,
Hang up that phone.
Did you just tell her? Like,
you know,
it was mad parameters. It was mad parameters.
Yeah, you had
and
to
then
be slick.
somebody made a point as well to point out to me that based on, you know, the New York aspect, sex was a little bit more accessible and frequent because we have the best transit system in the country. So there was almost nowhere, even though when I was growing up, you was risking your life with certain shorties, because if you going into their neighborhood to go and see them, and you don't know the motherfucking, the whole ballistics, like, she dealing with the williest of the willy dude out there, he the craziest nigga on the block.
You guys car parked outside the crib.
There's dudes that been trying to get with her that she ain't giving no play in the neighborhood. And they find out that you is the preferred subject and they want to clip you out of spite just because, or you know, you wearing your jewels to the hood. You whipping something, you go to Queensbridge to see a shorty.
Right.
Like, come on, be like, yeah, you might not come out of there. So, these was the type of shit that dudes had to go through to see a shorty. So it's almost like, just making it there. You like, like, no, I'm good. I made it through. I made it upstairs. I remember we used to go see shorties in Coney Island. You know what I'm saying? We have to creep through there at night, and when we get there, it's like, shorty, you know what's up? Like, just the stress level. Like alone, you
dragon.
Like, I'm guaranteed something just for making it here. You know what I had to go through? Literally, real talk, to get here?
No, real shit.
You know what I'm saying? I had to take felony chances. Because I got that thing on me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This shit was real. So
just to say hi.
Oh my God.
Nah, we ain't saying hi. We could have said hi with my mom on the other line.
Right. So it's the go down time.
So all of that to say that, you know, in other places though, you know what I'm saying, it was a little bit more slowed down because you know, mom still gotta ride you everywhere, you know what I mean, until you come of age, and you know, you could jump out and take the whip and go and pop off and come back home like you ain't do nothing. You know, so there was these parameters that kind of like spoke to our civility, you know what I'm saying, as a
it kept us in check.
Yeah, it kept us in check, you know what I'm saying? But now that the world has become so much more smaller and so much more accessible, and you could Uber anywhere, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and then the parental dynamic is missing now.
Yeah, and then the parental dynamic is
because mom is working all day, then dad might be working nights. So when are you being supervised? You know, when is that happening? So that's now you can just click a text and somebody pops up all hours of the day because nobody's home. And then it's easy to get around. Get a little Metro card. You on buses, trains, do whatever you want to do. Which, you know, is just harder as well. And it's starting younger. It's starting even younger. You know, you got 12-year-olds with iPhones in the chats, in the WhatsApp, and all this and that.
I was shocked. I seen my little cousin with a phone. I'm like, you have no reason for that phone right now. But
getting on YouTube,
again, it's the sign of the times, and they teaching me about the computer and what the phone do, and but this and they're like the first generation with that. The younger ones now, maybe let's say I wouldn't say anybody over 15, nobody over 15. You know what I mean? But 15 and under, they've been, you know, they've had a certain level of utilizing technology.
They all have
the technology
iPads.
we had was video game at the most, the arcade.
In 2007, 2008, when my nephew was born, my nephew was born onto a tablet. He was born onto the phone. He was using the phone when he was like 4 or 5 months.
Right.
Real talk. Like, he was accessing shit on the phone that we couldn't get to. He was unlocking shit. By the time he was 9 months, he was on tablets. You know what I'm saying? So
he might have been one of them.
That was the generation.
Yeah.
It started kind of like from, so we 7 years, 8 years removed from that. Forget about it.
Right. Yeah, they going to
forget about it. They got phones. Like,
because imagine the stuff that we see when we go online. It's a wasteland. Some of the places that's online now is just like crazy. So imagine a teenager,
yeah,
12-year-old.
yeah, like the younger children. I don't really hear as much stories from them, but again, like I said, these are things that it would really beckon us to do some research and find out. I don't know. I hear a lot of reports from young ladies that I know about their children. We're talking from 11 to 15, and these children are addicted to porn at this point. You know what I'm saying? And they have peculiar porn addictions. They just don't have normal porn addictions. So there's sexual proclivities that these children are expressing based on their porn fetish that has their parents scared.
Yeah.
Because they're like, yo, why does my child like this kind of porn?
And it gives you a warped sense of reality.
Yeah, forget about the warp sense. Their sense is warped, but it's the shit that they're going to.
Yeah.
Like, they like BBW and they like midget porn and shit like that.
I'm more concerned of what happens now when you go to school. You know what I mean? You in your room watching these crazy porn sites all day, and then you're gonna want to act these things out on someone in your community. You know what I mean?
You have a president who says grab
by the pussy.
Right in the pussy. Excuse me. But this is what he said.
We
those are the facts.
normally, family, we would censor ourselves. There's a lot of different euphemisms that we can use, but you have
the
president who lives by this moniker. This is your president. He says grab by the pussy. So, and they got this on the front page of Daily News. So the 6 and the 7 and the 8-year-old is putting 1 and 2 together. Because even if they can't fill in the little blank spots that was missing when they had the 2 cats where the S's is at,
that word is.
they're going to school.
And then kids,
And them other children, the ratchets especially.
From the real nigga, I'm a fucking grown man. You are? I'm a grown fucking man. You don't smoke though? I don't what? You don't smoke? You don't smoke, nigga! You don't smoke! How many times your daddy whooped your ass and you cry? How many times your daddy whooped your ass? I don't cry, nigga. I don't. How the fuck? What you don't this nigga trying to cook a motherfucking, damn, ham, a fucking sandwich. This pussy ass nigga burn a fucking sandwich. Why the fuck you ain't eat it cold? Why the fuck you ain't eat it cold? Why the fuck you ain't eat it cold? The fuck wrong with you? Nigga can't eat a fucking sandwich cold.
You feel me?
I'm talking about
and telling them, yo, you heard what Trump said? He said.
So on that note, you was talking about the youth, and you was mentioning earlier about how back in the days, they was dealing with, women was getting pregnant at 14. Now we know in today's society, you get your head chopped for that. Just where we at in some cases, shall I say? You know what I mean? Like if somebody was like, yo, Blue got a 14-year-old right now, they're gonna be like, yo, homie, what's really good? You alright? What happened? You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, they'll run down.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like
in the South, it wasn't.
But
like
it wasn't like that. So my thing is, do you think? And I don't know when you say in the South, if it was just the melanated family. I know that certain people have fertility issues and things like that. But like,
I think all through the South.
All through the South.
Melanated families, but Europeans handling theirs like that as well.
So let me ask you this: do you think that some of the quote, some of what they call laws and touching and things like that some of those things weren't really designed for us? Because I'm not promoting anything violent or anything like that, and I don't know Chris Brown shit or nothing like that, but we have we have an energy where sometimes people like to get sexual. They might want to feel if she's plastic or not, you know what I mean, especially in these days. So somebody might touch, but not abusively. They're not grabbing them right in the vagina, like Trump says. Do you think it's a difference in between what they? Because somebody could be walking past you at work rub your breasts on accident, and they like, yo, do you want to press charges? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it might not even been nothing. But do you think that some of these, quote, laws were designed to restrict the natural people's sexuality? Because remember, we're talking about the programming and social engineering, where they said they wanted us to not produce, and then they went super ham and hard, where they introduced programs where they like the man has to get out of the house. So there has always been a plot to divide us up. Speaking about what y'all was saying earlier, he has to go. You know what I mean? And we're gonna give you the cheese. You know what I mean? So there has always been this plot and this plan to break us up. What do you think about that? Do you think that that came about as a result of integrating, or you know, a attempt to oppress sexuality or natural law, so to say? Hold on.
I think that I mean I've never really seen any laws too much, so to speak, that were favorable to women, to protect women.
Peace to the gods. Peace to my melanated family. I'm making this video to keep everyone updated on the situation with my arrest and the situation with these fictitious charges that are being placed against me. Today is Wednesday, January 18th, 2017. I have court today, family court, and I also have court tomorrow, city court. So if y'all don't hear from me within the next few days, you can assume that I have been arrested again and held in custody of these terrorists. Anyway, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to anyone who checked on me, whether it be a phone call or a text message, an inbox, or anybody who commented on the post when I made it publicly known that I had been arrested. I appreciate you all immensely for your support and just keeping me on thought. Okay, let's get right down to it. I've been homeschooling my children since last month, December 2016. Anybody who's familiar with New York State law for homeschooling, you know that you have to file a letter of intent to homeschool with City Hall, which I did. So you can see right here, this is a copy of it. December 5th, 2016. I went directly to City Hall and put these 2 letters of intent in and told them that I will be homeschooling my children from now on. And that is proper procedure. New York State is very simple, just like that. And then you have to follow up with an individualized education plan, which I also turned in to City Hall. So, not too long after I did this paperwork, I learned that my children's school had contacted Child Protective Services because my children had quote-unquote excessive absences from school. Well, how can they be absent from a school that I unenrolled them from? They're not enrolled in your school anymore, so they're not absent. So, long story short, I'm driving. This was last week, Friday, January 13th, Friday the 13th. So, I'm driving past my house and I see police cars and whatnot, some commotion outside of my home. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's for the people next door, maybe it's for the people downstairs because I live upstairs, or shit, maybe it's for me. But y'all know I don't fuck with the pigs, so I'm the type, I'm to have all my shit legal and in order, whether it be my driving shit or whatever, to have everything legal and in order, not breaking any laws. But I'll still, just to avoid the pigs, I'll drive 2, 3, 4, 5 miles around. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not a criminal. Let me put that on record. I've never been arrested in my life. I'm 30 years old, never ever been arrested. So, never been charged with anything, nothing of the sort. So anyways, they see me. Apparently, they know my face and they know my vehicle. They follow me. I'm driving, they follow me. So finally, I pull over. Of course, when I pull over, they pull over. They come to my vehicle. They snatch me out my car. They illegally impound my vehicle because my registration was good. My insurance was valid. So they illegally impound my vehicle. My vehicle's still in the impound, actually. They refused to tell me my charges. They refused to read me my rights. They arrested me, and they handed me this paper, this court summons. Well, first and foremost, they demanded to know where my children were because they wanted to remove the children from my custody. So they said, either you tell us where the children are because we're kidnapping your children, basically. So either let us kidnap your children or we're taking you to jail. So y'all already know how that went down.
And any stuff that we've seen recently is not really rooted in the government's concern with women, per se. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather, also told me that the oldest war on this planet fought is the war against the woman.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's how I've always been trained to look at things from outside of that lens.
Absolutely.
When I look at religion, when I look at government, you know what I'm saying? When I look at politics, by way of these governments, it's always about banging on women, suppressing women,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Or not protecting her. She was always, you know what I'm saying? She was always unprotected, you know what I'm saying? She always had complaints, especially the European woman, about how her man treated her. His animalistic nature, not only in cave dwelling times, we're talking about all the way up until their whole women's movement, to the feminist movement, women's suffrage, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
That was the mothers and the sisters and the daughters of these European white men saying, these niggas is animalistic in how they get down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Our community, we like to glam things over and speak about black women as God or goddess or things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you really look at it, you know what I'm saying? We really haven't done too much to protect our women.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
She's really food in this country. She's the booty of war. The brother Neely Fuller Jr. says, it's almost impossible to say that we ever have expressed or know the expression of love under white supremacy. It's almost impossible because you can't guarantee the protection of women and children in this particular dynamic. You don't have any modem of redress to say, I got you, and really mean it. You know what I'm saying? So where else does love stem from? If I can't protect her, if I can't protect that baby, and know, you feel me, that if anything happens to them, I'm going to exact a level of justice that is fucking binding and standing. You know what I mean? Where if I'm not, then I'm not taken out of the equation and something more heinous and horrendous to happen to her.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're always at the mercy of this quote-unquote system that challenges your expression of love for her every single day. That challenges your expression of love for her every single day. You know what I'm saying? So until you could literally be a man with yours, we shouldn't even be talking about our love for her or our love for these babies.
Right.
That shit is conditional at best. You know what I mean? So we have a lot of work to do on that particular front. And what she's going, what the women is going through in regards to realizing, like, oh shit, well this nigga's not gonna protect me. I'm gonna have to start protecting myself. So she becoming more masculine as a result.
Yeah.
This is 10, 15 years out. This is all post 9/11 stuff that we are really bearing witness to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So this is somewhat new. Yeah, like I said, there are genetical, scientific factors, right, based on the biochemical warfare that's taking place on us both. Men are becoming more feminized, she's becoming more masculine, right? Niggas becoming more soft, she becoming more hard. this is stuff that we can say this is not older than 10 or 15 years. It's relatively new. This is a dynamic that we are just living with to say, yo, especially in the numbers that we're seeing it, to say this is not an anomaly. This is the shift. You know what I'm saying? This is the way things are going.
Yeah.
So the continuation of the conversation about her, about us, is this is a modern day conversation. This is not old.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a continuance to it. There's new chapters that have been written that need to be added on to the book, so we can compare notes. We're not doing that.
It's been an overall war on our relationships and our dynamic. You know, it did, of course, yes, it started with the woman because we're the ones that bring life and we're the creators. So it started with us, and then they began to get rid of the man, which left us alone, like you said, unprotected. So now we have to look for our protection from foreigners because our protector is now gone, locked up in somebody's jailhouse or murdered.
Right.
So, you know.
Because we don't do the knowledge, and this is no disrespect, again, to anybody that does history, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to rewrite history, I'm just saying, let's look at melanated, if you will, Moorish history for the last 100 years in this country. You know what I'm saying? There was a family dynamic, so they say, right, on the plantation. We're going to speak in the people's language because this is what they're being taught and told, and this is where they have their references to. So on the plantation, the man was actually trying to be the provider. He wanted to be the family man. He was into family. He was having, you know, sex with this woman. She was having babies at a young age. They were taking those babies and they were sending them to different plantations. So they were breaking up the family dynamic.
And that causes resentment within her because she's like, you
can't
allowing them
me.
to do this to me.
But he still was there for her. He still wasn't smarting her. There wasn't too much question, you know, accounts of him backhanding. They probably said, I think they said pimping started maybe around that time or in one of that dynamic. You know, fuck you niggas too, but I don't really know, you know what I'm saying, where that comes out of. But, you know, I think they try to blame it on that shit. I gotta go read one of my old Iceberg Slim books. They had it in there or something like that. But he was still trying to be a man.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? He was still trying to be a man to the detriment of, you know, they probably had to quarter him at some point. They had to kill him.
Murdered for
they had to
do what
came
natural to him.
They had to kill him.
Murdered for
they had to
do what came natural to him.
Real melanated Moorish men was still in stock back then. Because if not, then they wouldn't be dragging them out in the court, you know what I'm saying? Hanging them for everyone else to see, making examples. He had to be a fucking man for them to make an example out of him.
Absolutely.
So, slavery, quote unquote, ends, right? The black man still, or the melanated Moorish man still had to be part of that family dynamic because you had, right, the Great Migration. First you had them coming out of quote unquote slavery, then you had Reconstruction, then you had the Great Migration. None of this is dealing with individualism. Like he wasn't hailing ass across the country to go to Chicago by himself, Louisiana, Oklahoma. It was groups, it was family. He was still there. He was holding it down in a hostile environment. You feel me? He might as well have been in the Serengeti, you feel me? And been a domesticated Maasai warrior. You know, he don't know none of he just got the trappings and shit. He's coming back with dungarees on. He don't have the tribal gear, what have you. He's in the Serengeti though. Lion know this nigga's food. So that's the clan, that's the this, that's the that. He's still holding it down. He still know that his woman is the most coveted piece because this is what they missing the labor. But they missing her. They missing the fact that they was able to, you know what I'm saying, go up in there and grab her when they want and get their thing off. You know what I mean? And still have this weird relationship with her because they intrinsically knew that that's still mama. Like I said, if that wasn't the case, then they wouldn't be putting their pride and joy, the progenitors for their bloodline and their family scions on her breast. Right? To get the genetic right? Because like I said, all the books you reading about science come from the 1800s that are telling you what these Europeans knew. None of the shit they're dealing with now is new information.
No.
They went and got the old information, so the old information comes from older information, meaning that in the 1600s, 17 to 1800s, they knew about the genetic exchange that colostrum fluid, breast milk, and all of that was bearing on the child, and the child being reared to a particular point where it has just strength and the genetics, and they're dealing with her, and she got the mitochondria. They knew that.
Right.
So them scientists knowing that, giving you all of the falseness afterwards with eugenics, but them scientifically knowing what they knew, then you gotta understand, they had to have a relationship with her to allow her to rear the baby, not through raising him like they doing in Park Slope and shit, pushing carriages. No, we talking breast milk. Okay, we're talking colostrum fluid, formulating his brain, giving the calcium and the nutrients for his bone, creating his whole structure, his being, his blueprint. She was responsible for that. That's what they trusted her with. Okay, and then they needed the booty as well. So he had to defend against that and defend her honor under some real shit. Not the shit you niggas is dealing with right now. Okay? You gotta hold it down from the gentrifier? Like, what's the task that's so barren on you where you bouncing every fucking chance you get and leaving her to fend for self? You know how many fucking women I know out here that's holding the fuck... Like, they need to replace the image of Atlas holding the fucking world up with a Moorish woman. That's how many of them that I know that's holding this world up on their own. 2, 3 seeds with jobs. They got fucking papers to speak of. You know, they went to school and made shit happen. And they got disposable income on the side. And this nigga's nowhere to be found. I don't know where the fuck he's at. And whether he's holding some fucking bunk up in jail, or whether this nigga's still running around, you know, with his dick in the dirt. That was you still chasing birds. I don't know what he's doing. So 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, you know what I'm saying? The dynamic was somewhat still there. And then we start hearing about the Rolling Stone, you know, aspect of our brothers in the 60s when drugs get introduced, and then Vietnam come, and then we in the 70s and 80s, and then you got all these women that's like, I got these seeds, I don't know where this nigga's at. We already knew about the government programs to take him out the house, but niggas voluntarily left. Niggas was cutting the fuck out. Niggas ain't nowhere to be found to this fucking day. There's bad ways you can still do it, and she can still get her fucking Section 8. But you picked up the yay, and when all that shit was talking about, I'm selling work because I want to get my mother out the peas. Your mother's still in the peas, nigga. And she's even more of a victim because she's an op because the niggas that you got beef with know where she had to run down on her. And then you turning your environment into fiends around her. They don't know the difference. She's an op. She's a passable. So you made a situation for her even worse by adding on to the bullshit. But you never came back and got shorty. You know what I'm saying? But all the hustling was being done to capture her attention so you could knock it down anyway because you wanted what you didn't have. You wanted the sneakers, you wanted the jewelry, you wanted all the shit white folks had up in their crib, right? Because the 70s and the 80s comes right out of integration. So you get integrated into a burning house in the end of the 60s. All that shit was about, damn, this house is burning, but I still need that tea. Ow, shit, I was like, ow.
That was the nail in the coffin.
You feel me?
Because we had already been separated, and then we began to take on the European mindset, which was the nail in the coffin, because we never had that chance to come back together. Because now the woman is in the workplace, and the man is now hustling to get what the European man has, and now she's seeing him now, the European man, as a more legitimate provider.
She like,
and
my
so
man
now,
is taking penitentiary chances for shit that
that he's doing on the 9 to 5.
You doing a 9 to 5 and you ain't even stressing. You signing, at the stroke of a pen,
making moves.
Yeah, you got
making
credit.
Things happen. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's where I think that's where the nail in the coffin really just sealed it for us coming back together.
So,
because once we were able to look away from ours and say, well, this person has, now we have resentment and anger towards ours because we're like, wait a minute, why you got to do all of that and all he got to do is just show up.
Just gotta show up.
You know, we're not understanding the trauma again and the psychology again of our counterpart. Absolutely. And that's what when we first started the conversation, we gotta have that conversation more openly because we don't know why y'all do what y'all do sometimes. We're like the whole MIA disappearing act, we're like, well, what is that? You know?
We don't even know.
Well, see, there you go. But then that makes us say, you know what, I'm done with our melanated men because these ones stick around. So I'm gonna go talk to him.
Yeah, and you know what? I can't vouch for it because I don't have that situation. I don't have any children.
But a lot of men are not emotionally aware. They're not they don't want to talk about things.
Yeah.
And even if the woman is more conscious and she's like, you know what, well, let me help you understand what's going on with you. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear it. They got to go make money. They got this and that to do. And there, once again, is another slap in the face, another breakdown. So it has to be a team effort, because we hear the men saying, well, women, y'all are angry, y'all just mad about everything. And we're like, yeah, we're a little bit mad about some things.
Pissed off
it's more of a frustration because we do care, and we love our brothers, but y'all have to be willing to work with us and let that guard down and say, yes, I'm hurt. Like, I'm mad that I can't go get a job and buy you whatever you need. And I'm mad that I can't support whatever other children I may have had before I met you. And I'm mad that I go to work and I got this European yelling in my face, telling me what to do. Like, I'm a man too. And that's the same way what happened in slavery. You got your man, you see him working hard, but here come the slave master whipping him. And what can he do?
Right.
What can he do? And if you're not self-aware and understanding, that slave would have turned away from her male slave counterpart. And she, in some cases, was in love with the slave master. He was coming and raping her, but she's in love with him. Why? Because he's providing. He's a man.
Right.
Where her counterpart is crawling around on the ground, afraid. Can't protect her. Kids is getting snatched. She getting slapped around. He probably getting beat up.
And raped.
In front of her. And now that's builds resentment. And it's the same program, just a different time with different players. So now you got the police coming in the house, slapping up the husband, slapping up the boyfriend, slapping up the girlfriend. And what is he doing? He's getting locked. He's in handcuffs. You know what I'm saying? But it's true. He's in handcuffs while she getting beat up and molested by the police officers. And what is he doing to help her? Wasn't that in a movie? What was that? With
I heard about it.
We know it. It's
Monster Ball.
No. The one who plays Blade, Wesley Snipes. The older movie. Fever. Yes. And she was getting touched up by the cop and he was just standing there letting it happen. Even though it was a mixed relationship.
Yeah,
I know what
I'm on a call.
Yeah, and they were filling her up and she was just like it was a different movie, Crash.
That
was the crash. That's what it was. Crash.
Yeah.
But he sat there and he couldn't do anything while he was. Her girl was getting filled up.
I want you to stand on your right foot. Touch your nose with the index finger of your left hand.
I told you he doesn't drink.
Ma'am, I'm only going to tell you one time to stay in the vehicle.
Man.
Honey, I'm okay. I got this.
Don't you man me. Who the hell do you think you're talking to?
Look, officer, my wife has had a couple drinks.
All right, both of you turn around, put your hands on top of your head and interlock your fingers.
No, wait a minute. We're only a block away from our house.
Hands on your head, interlock your fingers.
That's
hands
not
on
even
your
necessary.
head, interlock your fingers.
Look, I'm a television director.
Wait,
me and my wife are just coming home from an award show.
Calm down. Calm down.
There's nothing wrong.
Put your hands on top of your head, ma'am.
Will you just do what he says?
Fucking.
Put your hands on top of your head, ma'am.
Filthy fucking hands off me. Stop fucking pig.
Just stop talking.
That's quite a mouth you have. Of course you know that.
Fuck you. That's what this is all about, isn't it? You thought you saw a white woman blowing a black man that just drove your little cracker ass crazy.
Will you just shut your fucking mouth? I listen to your husband, ma'am. Get your legs open. Now, do you have any guns or knives or anything I might get stuck with?
I'm wearing a cocktail dress. What do you think?
Be surprised some of the places I found weapons.
He's clean.
What do you think we should do about this, Mr. Thayer? My partner and I just witnessed your wife performing fellatio on you while you were operating a motor vehicle. That's reckless endangerment, which, incidentally, is a felony. And we can charge your wife here with lewd conduct and performing a sexual act in public. And you say you're a block from home. Now, we could use our discretion and let you go with a warning, or we could cuff you and put you in the back of the car. What do you think we should do, sir?
Look, we're sorry, and we would appreciate if you just let us go with a warning, please.
Man's apologizing, Tommy. I think we can let him go. Don't you?
Yeah. Witnessed it in our community with Brother Polite.
Oh, yeah.
They was assaulting him and, you know, doing something weird to his lady.
You know,
and he couldn't do
the
nothing.
same program. It's the same program. They have not changed.
As powerful as the brothers come across, as much information as they have.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can surround yourself with things and put yourself on par with the European, but when he decides to violate, when he decides to,
you have to be ready to die.
break you down,
right.
Point blank.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta be willing to die for
you have to be willing to die.
We're gonna show this. Fuck that. They gonna have to kill me.
If you don't get out when a tow truck driver gets here, you'll be placed under arrest, okay?
Okay.
Placed under arrest, okay?
Okay.
And what do you
Listen, you're not gonna kidnap me, so get ready for it. You can go ahead. Listen, you're not gonna kidnap me.
Okay.
I've never been arrested. I'm not committing a crime. There is no victim here. So there's no victim here. So when the first chance you put your hands on me, I promise you I will own your ass in that department over there. I promise you that.
What does that mean?
I promise you.
What does that mean?
I promise you that.
All right.
The first time you lay a face, first time.
What about the second time?
You won't. I'll be. Listen.
Honestly, I'm giving you all
Listen.
these chances. Why are you acting
A chance to do what?
to get out of your car with your children?
Sir, you're trying to steal my car and you're telling me that if I don't get out my car that you're gonna kill her. You're trying to steal my car and you're telling me that if I don't get out my car that you're gonna kidnap me and probably planning on kidnapping my kids too. It's not gonna happen.
Does that even make sense to you?
Listen.
Does that make
If
any
you
sense
plan
to
on shooting somebody today, then you can get your wish. When you put your hands on me, I promise you, you will
Okay,
have to murder me. You will have to murder me. So go ahead and get ready to do that. You will have to kill me.
Because that's
what else? I mean, what else? Is
Exactly.
there?
Where else is there to
What
go
else
at
is
that
left
point?
intact once that shit is taken?
Because you know that's the MO already. Is to
So-
get you to come out of yourself so that they can lay hands on you, lay the taser on you, lay the heat on you. So if your woman is getting molested by the police officers or whomever, if you're not ready to die for your woman, it's gonna cause a problem if she's not understanding, because she's gonna have that resentment like, you didn't protect me. You sat there and watched these people put their hands on me.
How important is security to women?
Great question.
I would say that's on the top of the list. Has to be.
Indeed.
You know, because nowadays you need. First of all, me personally, I'm not gonna be with somebody that I feel cannot protect me.
Right.
You know, first of all, I feel like I said before, I was already raised to be able to take care of myself. But if I'm with a man, I feel like that's part of your duty. Otherwise, I would be by myself.
Right.
You know, if you can't bring those things to the table, why am I wasting my time?
Right. So on that note, let's say you out with a brother. He's on his duty. He's protecting you. He's telling you, you know, he's walking a certain way. He like, oh, we about to walk past the crowd. He takes your outside shoulder, so you ain't gotta brush shoulders
like
with nobody.
Was you even raised to
Sit
know
walk
that
on
a
the
man's
inside,
supposed to?
yes.
What the fuck is be going
And
on
not
out
to
here?
sit. He should sit in the other inside, so he's not sitting with his back to the door.
Right,
Because
right,
he needs to
right.
watch what's going on.
Absolutely.
And honestly, if a guy I'm with and he doesn't do that automatically, I'm not gonna say I look at him different. But
You look at him different.
I look at
goddammit.
him a little different because I wonder. I'm like, okay, well, now I have to watch you
You
because
missed the basics.
you missed the basics.
The basic shit.
You missed the basics.
Quick question. Now, what does it say about the sister if she takes the position first that she's not, vice versa? Let's just say.
Like I said, I think that just comes from
Not
our own
knowing.
instinct and our own what we have been raised to do. If I go out with girlfriends or by myself, I don't sit with my back to the door. Because
Right,
that's how
right.
I was raised.
Yeah.
Because I don't know this chick from a can of paint in that sense. I don't know if she can have my back if somebody come in here wilding out. So
Right.
I know I can protect myself.
Yeah.
So I take that upon myself to sit with myself facing the door so I can see who's coming in and what's going on. And if I'm walking on the street, I don't like to walk near the edge of the street just because it's not safe. That's just common sense.
Right.
But that's also a guy needs to be understanding of how the women have been raised.
Right, right.
Because some of us did not have a man in the home, and some of us didn't have a male figure to teach us that, or to show us what a man is supposed to do, quote unquote.
Right.
So if he should not be offended by that. If I go and sit, he should correct me.
Right, right.
Feel
right.
okay enough to correct me and say, you know, babe, you sit right here because I gotta watch the door. And I'll be like, oh, you got it, cool.
Absolutely.
Or explain it, because I might not know why. Why? What do you mean? Why you gotta watch the door? Oh, because you know somebody come in here, I might need to jump up.
Yeah.
Got it. You got it.
Right. Facts.
You know.
What happened where, like, I learned this when I was coming up and the family structure was still broken, somewhat, so to speak. At that point, when I was coming up, you know what I mean? Like, this is when, you know what I'm saying, dudes was twisting they man's moms out, you know what I'm saying, for crack.
A homeboy's mom, if she's a hot mom, if she's just coming at you, you got to turn that down. If that's your homie, you got to turn that down. Because if you do that, you're not thinking about the next day. You know?
The dudes was twisting they man's moms out, you know what I'm saying, for crack.
Zero
Don't get mad at me because the crack baby didn't crack. Y'all hate y'all mom because she was on drugs. I love my mama. So they don't respect them. You know what I mean? When they see their mom down on drugs, they kick her down. Because look what they do to their customers. The ones who give them money.
Yeah, right.
The dudes was twisting they man's moms out, you know what I'm saying, for crack.
Right, right,
and shit
right,
like that.
right.
I don't know how much more broken a situation can get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
Which
crazy,
brings me
bro.
to a whole nother subject about the fact that niggas need to atone. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Irregardless of what your religious prescriptions are. Like,
Right,
your ass
right.
needs to look up the fucking definition of atonement and prescribe it to your ass. And whatever fucking flag you wave, you feel me? Because we need to atone for some of those sins.
We need some
collectively
limits.
as a community.
Yeah, I
like,
was gonna say, as a
even if I ain't
community.
sell crack, goddamn it, the fact that I ain't cut your fucking head
That
off,
you knew somebody
and I
would do.
knew about it, I need to
Exactly.
atone.
Absolutely.
Right, right, right.
Because you should have got sent up.
Right,
Yeah.
real talk.
All right?
Real talk.
The fact that I even spent time with you, knowing that this is what you do.
Right,
I should
right.
atone for that shit. So,
Yeah.
like, what happened where, like, the dudes, even if they could say, I was raised by women, well, women didn't teach you that? Because
Right,
it's not
right,
even necessarily for a dude to
Not
teach.
if she didn't know
Like,
it. Honestly,
she
I don't
didn't know it?
I feel like I may have learned it from my father. I grew up in White Plains, in Westchester, and we walked everywhere. So as a kid, he would always walk on the outside,
Right.
you know, because we were children. So maybe that's where I learned it. And I know from my grandfather, even they would say, like, I never sit with my back to the door. You know, but if you never heard someone say that, or you never had that experience, you might not know.
See,
You know, and
it's
then
the
that's
reason
what
why
that's
we need
where,
more movies. Like,
and that's where the
Yes.
man comes in,
Pill.
because we're each other's teacher. You
Yo,
know,
I got some ill shit.
and you have to teach us because some of us don't know. So we're out going to eat, and I try to take the seat, you know, facing facing the door. Correct me.
Yeah.
You know, don't be afraid to say, "Yo, move,"
Right,
because
right.
this is X, Y, and Z. You know, that's why we're here. I feel like if you're gonna be in a situation with a person, regardless friendship, business, whatever, you're there to learn from each other.
From each other.
And I should be comfortable to say, hey, even if, like, let's say we're walking and you're on the inside and I'm on the outside, if I know better, let me correct myself and move.
Right.
And then if he says, well, why did you move? Oh, because a man, should walk on the outside in case something happened, car come up, blah, blah, blah. Then he'd be like, oh, okay, I got it.
Quick question before we burn out, because we're gonna have to get back to our tables and then.
Cool.
But this was a great conversation. But back to the etiquette, real quick.
Okay.
We walk in.
Yes.
We walk in. We dating, right? Or let's say I've known you for a year. We coming up on a year today. Like we on that date. You know what I'm saying? and we're walking. I'm everything is being done right. I'm not letting you walk or brush shoulders with nobody. But boom, we're walking. I run into somebody I know. You keep it moving. And we in a building where it's mad people, right? You keep it moving. Dudes roll up on you like you some type of prostitute now. Right? After you departed from me. No, it's real talk. After you departed.
Gotta be all that.
I'm telling you, it's real shit. Right? Now, right, you're being degraded. People are. Do you think the era? Yeah, they trying to get at you now. Now I'm feeling some type of way because I'm like, where you at? And you know what I mean? Do you think that it would have been your era for losing the step, or would it be mine for, you know what I mean?
My first instinct when you were asking the question was to say, why did I walk away?
Yeah, right.
You're my man. I'm not gonna really
go into looking for a bathroom.
Yeah, but I would hope that I would say, hey babe, I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick.
Right.
And then that way you at least know what direction I'm heading in should something happen.
Absolutely.
Because I'm not here to be, on your back like a backpack. You want to talk to your friend, you do your thing. But I think it's just common courtesy, even if just as a group of friends, to say, hey, this is where I'm going in case I don't come back. I was headed to the restroom.
Absolutely.
And as a man, I feel like, I don't know. I don't think that in that instance, I don't feel like it would fall on you.
Right.
I don't feel like that.
Indeed.
We're walking.
Okay.
We're together. I would hope that I would give you the courtesy to say, hey, I'm going to head in a different direction real quick.
Indeed. Well, I gotta say, thank both of y'all for pressing it. I don't want this conversation to even stop.
Oh no, this is a this is half of part one.
Half of part one. You know what I mean?
Part one.
When we get back to
ongoing conversation
1.5.
You have to bring reinforcements. You got to probably do the Oprah round table.
Yeah. And we should.
Studio audience.
The whole thing.
Take
you feel what I'm saying?
And everything.
No, but again, because this conversation is so vital, it is so important. We talk nationality and birthrights, but we also got to talk about the social issues that go with that.
I mean, this is civics.
This is civics.
This is social civics.
This is what it is.
Can't have a community without
these
without unity
and the etiquette and all of these things. So I'm hoping. I know the next one is going to be crazy, but this one was great. I appreciate y'all. I'm hoping that the youth can take something from this, as well as some who might just never knew, like you was talking about, in grown bodies.
Right.
So, we're going to keep doing it. And thank you again, Ashley.
You're welcome.
Blue Pillar. All right. Anything you want to let the people know before we go? Instagram or anything?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Handle the Glare.
Right.
That's me, the glare.
There it is, the light beam.
Yes.
Blue Pillar 44 on IG. All right. ShastaMedicine.com. Join us for our retreats to the mountains of Mount Shasta, California, where we are actually indulging in the process of healing, the deep cellular chelation aspects of healing, all right, getting to the core aspects of the fact that, yes, many of us are deeply wounded, you know what I'm saying? But as spirit works through the healer to heal other people, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, the healer also needs to be healed. So,
Absolutely.
this is an open invitation for those, that want to come out to a serene setting, no judgment free zone, you know what I'm saying? Where we can actually be around the natural elements and get more into the natural aspects of who we are. Because naturally we are magnificent beings, you know what I'm saying? We've just been socially engineered to be something that we don't even recognize.
Right. Real
So let's get our identities back, not just with nationality and paperwork, but in the soul, in the spirit.
Soul,
Alright?
absolutely.
Peace.
Peace and love, y'all. Thanks so much.